Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready for the event.
Martin Van Buren High School, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Hello, Martin Van Buren. I actually cannot hear you. I hear a lot of background noise, but I'm not sure if there's something with the audio. I can't hear you.
Yeah, keep talking.
This is not on.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Keep talking? We are Martin Van Buren High School, school of nearly 1,200 students of diverse backgrounds. We are honored and privileged to be the first New York City public high school to be hosting this event. And now for our first question.
How is it, Maribel?
How do you hear me?
Hello, everybody. It is wonderful to be talking to you today. I can't hear you very clearly. I can hear every few words. So I'll try to follow along with the questions, and I hope you can hear me better.
Okay, we're ready with our first question.
Hey Jessica, my name is Buren and I'm sophomore at Martin Van Buren High School. Okay, my question is, how did it feel to be a part of NASA's first all-women spacewalk?
Well, being a part of any spacewalk is a really incredible, absolutely incredible experience and such an amazing opportunity. I feel so privileged that I got to do not even one, but 3 spacewalks. Part of that is just us out there doing our job that we've trained for. We trained so many hours in the pool where we learn how to use the spacesuits on the ground. But we did recognize, both Christina and I, that this spacewalk did mean a little bit more to so many people. And really, a lot of that was us feeling very grateful for all of the women that had paved the way to bring us to where we are today. And we were really overwhelmed by seeing how excited and inspired it made people all over the world. So we felt very thankful and grateful to be part of that event.
Hey Jessica, my name is Meir, and my question is, now that you have gone into space and have experienced being one of the astronauts to go on the first all-women spacewalk, what do you hope to achieve in the future?
Well, that's a great question. I guess if I've done this, I've got nothing left to think about, but that's not really true. There are still a lot of things that I'm looking forward to doing when I come back down to Earth. One of those is to continue doing things like this, to be able to share this adventure that I've had up here and to be able to help deliver the message and share it with people like you, students, and the general public all over. We do a lot of outreach, especially in the period just after we come back to Earth, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward forward to going back to the astronaut office to give some feedback and some debrief opportunities to help improve everything that we're doing in space and to help plan for future missions. I'm not sure when or if I'll go back to space again. I really hope so, but I think there's still a lot of excitement on the horizon, particularly the Artemis missions. As you've probably heard, we are planning right now to bring the first woman and the next man to the surface of the moon and eventually go on to Mars. So if I could play a role in any way in those missions, I would be very excited to contribute to that.
Hello, Jessica. My name is Stephen Thomas, and my question for you is, as NASA prepares for the Artemis program, what do you believe will be the benefits of wider exploration of the lunar surface?
Well, exploration of the moon was one of the pivotal moments of all of the planetary geology data and experiments that have been performed in the past. So much of our knowledge about planetary geology in general came from those Apollo missions. As we explore destinations like the moon, we don't only learn about that specific destination, but we learn more about Earth and how Earth was formed and about all of our solar system. So there is a lot of reward to each of those individual samples, for example. On these future Artemis missions, we'll be going to destinations that we never went to during the Apollo program. So we will be able to learn a lot more about different aspects of the moon that ties into all of that, again, with Earth processes and the solar system. We'll be able to use those experiments, the knowledge that we gain in order to propel ourselves. Going back to the moon will really be a stepping stone for taking that next step to Mars. As we demonstrate the technology that we need to get there, that will not only advance us to going further to Mars, but will also have benefits, even sometimes unintended benefits, back down here on Earth. So I think there will be a lot to gain from those missions.
Hey Jessica, my name is Matthew Johnson, and my question to you is, what moment in your life did you come to the realization that you wanted to pursue being an astronaut? What or who inspired you?
You know, I wish I had one particular moment that came to mind. I think maybe I'll have to create some kind of amazing story to answer this question because I get asked it all the time. The answer, though, is that I started saying I wanted to be an astronaut when I was 5 years old, and I'm not sure if it was, a combination of things or what it was exactly. I think part of it was because I was always very curious and excited to know more about the world around me, so exploration always really appealed to me. And back then, we were flying the shuttle very regularly. It got a lot of attention on the evening news, and so something must have captured my imagination with that. For people that inspired me, I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so I had a lot of older sisters and an older brother to live up to. I always wanted to emulate them and to be like them, and my parents were very inspirational and encouraging as well. I had some amazing teachers along the way, particularly biology, which was my favorite subject. A lot of those stand out from the time that I was in 4th grade. Even on to my years as a graduate student, my mentors, I was very, very lucky to have mentors that were not only scientists that were at the top of their field, but they were also people that cared about me as a person. And that makes a huge difference, I think, in helping to inspire and foster and promote the dreams of anybody else.
Hi Jessica, my name is Buren and this is my question. I know that in addition to your current mission on the space station, you served as an operator on the NASA Extreme Environment Research Operations Board Group. Which assessment did you find more confusing and why?
Yes, I did participate in a NEMO mission. That's the NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations. And those missions are what we call analog environments. So how do you train and prepare for life up here in space? One of the things that we do for astronauts to help prepare ourselves is try to find situations or environments on Earth that replicate some of those characteristics. So if you have some kind of environment that is slightly inhospitable, maybe you need a life support system to go outside, you're in a small, isolated environment with a small crew serving out a specific set of tasks. And so the NEMO mission, we live in this underwater habitat that is off of the coast of Key Largo called the Aquarius habitat. And this was extremely appealing to me. Now, this was something I actually did well before I was an astronaut. At the time, I was a scientist working at NASA, so I did the mission with some other astronauts and a flight director, but I wasn't one at the time. And for me, I love the ocean. My PhD is actually in marine biology, and so I love scuba diving, and so it really appealed to me to live underwater and to sort of be on the reverse side of this aquarium where you're looking out the window at dinner time and you're seeing fish float by instead of the other way around. I think I really enjoyed that mission, as well as another analog mission I did just a couple years ago when I was an astronaut, and that one was called Caves, where we spent 6 days in a cave in Sardinia, living underground the whole time and exploring and performing a mission similar to a mission that we would perform up here. All of those environments are extremely exciting to me, and I think they have that common element of exploration, just like life does up here. But I think that this really does top all of them. You know, being in space and being up here was a dream that I always had, and it is such an extraordinary opportunity to look down at the Earth and see all of it down there. It's much longer too. You know, my mission will be almost 7 months, and those analog missions were really only very short-lived. So this is a little bit more rewarding because I get to spend so much time up here really soaking it in.
Hi, Jessica.
My name is Joe, and my question is, what are some interesting things that you have seen, felt, or heard in space that you wish everyone on Earth knew about? Would it change the way we think about certain things?
Well, the view that we have of the Earth is simply extraordinary. And when you see that with your own eyes and you're looking down at this ball, this fragile blue ball beneath you, and everywhere you've ever been, every experience you've ever had, all of you, all of the people I've ever known in my life are down there together. And you see it in this very unique perspective because of the perspective that we have from out here. You're looking down at the planet and you don't see any borders, any of these man-made boundaries that you see drawn in on a map. And I think it makes you really understand and feel that we truly are in this all together. It does make some of those aspects stand out even more for many people who may not have even thought about them before, in terms of thinking that we really do need to protect our planet, that it is special and it is fragile. And given that it is our home, all of us, all being in it together, we need to make sure that we do our best in order to ensure that it stays healthy, just like all of us. So I think it does allow you as a human to gain this different perspective, which sometimes can be difficult to have when you're in a smaller minded and a smaller, more close to home perspective that is very easy to fall into when you're back down on Earth.
Hello, Jessica. It's Adab. My question for you is, what led you to transition from being a marine biologist and a physiologist to becoming an astronaut?
Well, as I mentioned in some of the earlier questions, I think all of these things were really connected by my desire to explore, to understand more about what's out there in the world and how things work. And for me, nature was always the most intriguing, whether that was biological phenomenon, seeing the remarkable behavior of animals in the diversity in the animal kingdom, animals that can hold their breath and dive to extraordinary depths, or animals that could fly at extreme altitudes where there's very little oxygen. All of these things sort of tied into this central theme of extreme environments and understanding how animals can survive in them. And for me, I had always wanted to be an astronaut since I was 5 years old, as I mentioned, but I also had this really this passion for the biological phenomenon that I just described. So I was sort of pursuing both of those in parallel, and I felt very lucky. I always knew that there was a very small chance of becoming an astronaut. That is something that we all accept. We all know it's a numbers game, no matter who you are. And so I felt very lucky that I had found this other career that really satisfied me and that made me content and fulfilled in working as a scientist, working with these animals in extreme environments. But it was still always in the back of my mind that I wanted to become an astronaut. And so when the time came and I had the opportunity to apply, just like an opportunity to apply is out there right now for people, I did. I applied, and it ended up being the right time to make this transition from my previous career. But it's interesting, it can be a little bit bittersweet because I had found that whole other world that I loved and that other career, and I did have to leave it to pursue this dream. But I couldn't say no to that dream to be an astronaut from the time I was 5 years old.
Hello, Jessica. My name is Ishika. My question for you is, if you go to space for another mission, what would be your ideal mission?
Well, I really like the long duration missions that we have right now. Being up here for almost 7 months is really allows you to get used to how things go and to feel like you're really contributing up here to do a wide variety of different tasks. But I think that my ultimate dream mission would be to go to the moon. That was the dream that I actually had from the time I was a kid. When I was in first grade, that was what I drew a picture of when asked what I wanted to be when I grew up. I drew a picture of an astronaut standing on the surface of the moon. And right now, as we are poised to go back with the Artemis program, who knows? Hopefully there is a chance that I could be involved in those missions in some way.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Jessica. My name is Baswar. And my question is, do you remember a time when you were really nervous? What has been the most terrifying thing you have seen in space?
I don't think I've been terrified by anything, but one of the things that we do, we have some events that are very high pressure dynamic events. And one of the ways that we get around that kind of nervousness is through our training. We have all of these functions and how we use our hardware and the specific tasks that we do on a spacewalk, for example. We've practiced that so many times on the ground and received such top-notch training that really helps us to make sure that we perform well. But of course, we're still nervous. Of course, we're thinking, all right, I don't want to make a mistake. Everyone's counting on me. I'm so lucky to have this opportunity to be up here. So when you have those really intense dynamic situations like a spacewalk, or the other day I had to fly the robotic arm in order to capture the SpaceX vehicle that just came up here. So I was responsible for maneuvering that arm over and grabbing that and making sure that I hit the target. And so all of those really highly dynamic situations do kind of get your heart going a little bit. But because we have such solid training, that helps us make sure that we can perform appropriately and get the job done.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Jessica. My name is Fridaus Tyrone, and this is my question. What type of research studies do you conduct in space?
Well, for me, as a scientist, it is an extraordinary opportunity to be up here doing all kinds of research. And the best part about that is we do everything. We do studies that range from physiology and medicine, so understanding how spaceflight and the microgravity environment affect the human body. We do experiments about combustion. Even flames burn differently in space. Since you don't have hot air rising, you don't have this convection and movement of air, all of those processes are essential to how flames burn. So we look at experiments trying to understand flammability of different materials, or also propulsion systems that may be part of future spacecraft propulsion, but also fuel efficiency down on Earth. We do cell biological experiments. We do radiation exposure experiments. We have an instrument, the alpha magnetic spectrometer, that is collecting and measuring high energy radiation from the cosmos, looking at questions like the origins of the universe. So really any type of science, you name it, we're doing it. We're just today, I was actually in this glove box, which is just out of your view here, where I was inside the glove box with my hands working on an experiment called osteomics that's looking at the bone cells So it's looking at how bone cells are affected by the microgravity and spaceflight environment. Physiologically, that's one of our big problems up here. When we come up to space and we don't have this constant loading of gravity on our bones and muscles, we actually lose a lot of density in our bones, and our muscles will atrophy unless we take the appropriate countermeasures of exercise. And that's why exercise is such an important part of our day up here.
Thank you, Jessica, for talking to us.
Well, thank you so much to all of you. It's been wonderful being able to share a little bit of this opportunity with you today. I wish you the best and take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.